Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Joe's Garage. Today we're going to be discussing something. I believe I purchased this car used, second owner, in February of 2022. There will be links in the description of all the videos made on this 2010 Toyota Camry XLE V6 model leading into this video. If you just scroll down, and please enjoy. When I purchased this car, I took a look-see off of Facebook Marketplace because my 2007 got into a car accident. I will also try to remember to post those videos. Maybe not the car accident, but maybe. So scroll down and there'll be plenty of links in the description. Click on them, enjoy them, and come back to this one. So when I purchased this vehicle, me and Jay were walking around, taking a look. Oh, look at this, look at that, pop, 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 pop. And anyway, during the purchase, before the purchase, during the walk around, we noticed a rattling coming from this part of the engine. I will try to mimic that the best I can when I start the car for you. What happened was, it sounded like a gurgling, just maybe like how do I say it? If you put 2 or 3 rocks inside of a coffee can and you shook them up, just a gurgling, and it was intermediate, whatever, and it would come and go. Purchased the car, I register the car, I start going to and from work, and nothing's wrong. I get a fresh oil change, I top off the reservoir, and so on and so forth, and everything's great. When you first purchase the car, I checked the fluids like every weekend, and the oil was fine through the dipstick, which is right here, and the reservoir, it's French. The reservoir was fine. It was filled cold when I would check it on the weekends. Absolutely no problem. So today is September 2nd, 2022. We just went through June, July, and August, and it was hot here in New York. Not every day, but it had its times. So everything was great. I got another oil change in the interim, perfect, no problem. And the fluid reservoir for the coolant pretty much stayed exactly where it was. Last week, August 28th, 2022, the reservoir right here was empty, bone dry. Oof, okay, no problem. There's no leaks. I don't smell coolant. So I brought it back up to the level. Well, that was Sunday. Today is Friday, September 2nd, 2022. And if I shall, please excuse me, the reservoir, what I like to do is, you can't really see it, so there's a line that says cold, there's a line that says hot. Somewhere in the middle, I read the book, when it's dead cold, you want to be right in the middle. So I put a Sharpie. Well, can you see that? Yeah, it's like 1 inch below, right? Yeah, exactly. Why is it 1 inch below? It's burning, it's leaking, it's doing something. And it was really, really good up until this point. Now, what's happening? Well, down there is this whole serpentine belt thing. It drives the alternator, which is right here. It drives the air conditioner pulley, which is really low. There's a couple of tensioners that lets, the S. There is the water, power steering pump is in the back. Here's the power steering reservoir. And right in the middle, there's a water pump. What's a water pump? Well, a water pump takes the coolant from the front of the engine and creates a fan and spits it out, and it goes in the engine, and the engine cools down with the cool or warm air coming through the radiator, through the front of the car, and it cools the liquid, which goes through all the engine, however the engine is designed, and it makes sure the engine doesn't explode, because metal on metal and oil can only do so much. And then when you're done driving, it all goes back to a magic place. It fills the radiator up, the pressure subsides, it hits the cap, and then it goes, on this car, it goes to this, and when there's enough, this is not the cap's underneath here. When it hits the cap, it goes in there and it fills, and when there's no leaks, your reservoir should stay exactly the same. It might go up and down through the life of the car, but it shouldn't go down 1 inch in less than 7 days. So, what do we have? We have a gurgling noise that potentially is the water pump. Why do I say so? Because I took the passenger tire off and I took the serpentine belt off by myself with Jay off camera. We went to the pulley. There's a pulley about 4 inches with 3 holes that ride the serpentine belt that have teeth. I took the pulley, and the only way that I could demonstrate this is just like this. And the pulley, here's the side of the engine. The pulley sits on the water pump, and the pulley is supposed to just turn. The pulley was going like this. It was wobbly. So when you start the car and you look down, and you look at the alternator belt, the serpentine belt, if I may, is going like this. It's doing one of these. It's not jumping the teeth, because that would be more of a problem. It's just waving. Why is it waving? Because that pulley is doing one of these. It's not off, but it's doing one of these. So I go to the mechanic. The mechanic says, hey, there's a couple different ways things can fail. You're not necessarily leaking, which at that time, a couple weeks ago, I wasn't. He says, but the bearing is potentially failing. Now, I will show you the part. There is the water pump for my car. I believe they used this water pump for many cars. You're looking at it and you're like, what the hell? Yes, the rubber bands are holding the seal from the box. Just very politely flip this over for you. I'm not touching it, so it looks like it's rubber, metal, well, not rubber, a rubber style. Rubber, metal, rubber. Okay, it sits like this. What's this housing? This is the thermostat housing. The tube comes right there. Maybe we'll take this off because I like showing people the reality of it. Sorry. See that tube? That goes to this thing. You take these 2 bolts off. I'll show you anatomy. There's the housing. That housing gets bolted into these bolts like that, and then that's it. So, what's happening? Well, I'll show you what's happening. The pulley sits on these 4 screws. It sits like this. I told you it's 4 inches. It's grooved because of the serpentine belt. And if I look at it like this way, see the way this spins? Perfect-ish. It's not. So my pulley's doing this. So there's a couple of reasons. One, maybe one of these screws are broken. But at the end of the day, why am I leaking fluid that has never leaked before? So do I have a bigger problem? So this sits down in there. The housing goes into the engine. It comes out through here. It creates a fan and it spits it out to the back of the engine like so. Things fail. Okay, look at this from the factory. Maybe this separated in my car. Maybe it doesn't. I'm gonna just politely put this here. So that's the way it sits down low. So I was gonna do this myself, but let me tell you why not. You take the beauty cover off, number one. Okay, you have to take the engine mount off. 1 screw, 2 screws back here, this screw right here. Then there's a bracket back there. You take the bracket off. Below the bracket exposes a square housing that's aluminum from the engine. That comes off. The serpentine belt comes off. The housing for the thermostat, which fits right here, which goes into that tube, which is about the same size, it's just offset, that comes off and comes out. Then you have to unloosen the pulley. And if you are so brazen as to watch the other videos from other people, you have to raise or lower the engine ever so slightly because the pulley hits the fender well of the wheel. And then when you get the pulley off, then there's 16 millimeter screws going around. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then that comes off. Then you expose the whole side of the engine, and then you have to reverse the process and make sure these get all torqued down, because this could piss up, this could piss down, and then you reverse the whole thing. And it's not like you could put this on and start the car. You have to put this on, and then you have to put the thermostat housing back on, and then almost like kind of put the car back together to make sure it doesn't leak. So I was going to do this myself, but as soon as you get into certain parts, and one of the videos shows taking off all the tension pulleys and the regular pulleys, and it's aluminum on metal, and nothing has been bolted off this car other than a battery since the factory. And between me and you, I'd rather someone else break it than myself. So that's the story. I'm going to start the car now, and maybe you could hear the gurgling. I will obviously remove the part and take it from there. I'm sorry. When I went to the mechanic, there is factory stuff here. See, looks like it's pressed on a shaft, and the shaft turns a fan style. So hopefully I get the part back. I'm going to tell him that I request the part. Please do not throw it away. And I want to see where the wobble is on this original part. And either this failed or this whole thing is wobbling. And not for nothing, now that I see it, this housing, even if it broke, it looks like it would almost like stay working. And maybe it's just, you know how some things break but still work? I'm going to start the car now. It's cold, so you might hear more car noise. And I'll take the phone and I'll bring the phone all the way down where the pulley's making a gurgling noise. And that's it. And then that's it. What I'll do is at some point between A and B, I will go somewhere or have to go somewhere, and then when the car gets up to operating temperature and or hot, it actually gets very loud, or it's louder. And that's an indication where for some reason it's getting hotter and it's making more of a noise. So you may not hear it, but I will start the car now anyway. Now, for the most part, I don't hear it, but the car is cold because it hasn't been driven for more than 8 hours. But as the car gets lower and up to operating temperature, and the RPMs and the computer talk to each other, and the air and the fuel mixture talk to each other, the car will get down to a more idling speed. So I will take the camera and the phone and try to bring it down there. But this is mostly just a preparation video to show you, hey, this is what it sounds like when it's really loud, and then we'll continue the video after it's fixed, knock on wood. So there's the water pump pulley. Vaguely, do you hear it? Gur, 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 gur. Right? Sounds like there's a pebble inside the pulley. Gur, 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 gur. Well, that's that. This is really all I could show you. It'll get louder. There's the tensioner pulley in the back. See that? My hand's shaking, so I don't know if you're going to catch the wobble. Very, very slight wobble, but you could see the oblong. See the top of the pulley right there? Watch the camera. See how oblong it is? Does that make sense to you? See, it's like kind of rattling. That's what we're going to change. Well, we're going to not change it. So that's going to wrap up this early morning segment of what's wrong with the Toyota, a diagnosis, and what the part looked like. Please stay tuned for the loud operating temperature noise and the crossing your fingers that the mechanic does the right thing. Hit like, hit subscribe, and stay tuned for part 2 of the noise it makes at operating temp, into the conclusion of what is going to happen with this part, and if the mechanic actually gives a flying F and saves the part, maybe I could show you what went wrong, which would be great for the video. But I will remind him when I pick up the car, hey, where'd you put it? Because if I don't have it in the car, I'm not leaving. And you didn't sell it, so it's in the garbage or it's in your reuse bin on used cars. So hopefully I get that part back, whether it's broken or not. Thank you very much. Hit like, hit subscribe, and stay tuned for part number 2. Take it easy.